It's back. Welcome back. Episode 27 of Icebreaker. AJ mustache again, looking even better this week.
It looks better this week. You're going to win this contest for the sole fact that I have more gray in my mustache.
Yeah,
It doesn't look as good on the webcam.
I hope I do. And just before we get into that, episode 27 is presented by Fort Garry Brewing Company, 130 Lowe's and Crescent, just off Kenniston. And they are the pioneers of craft beer. So check them out for a good can of, local craft beer.
Fort Garry all the way. And I don't know about you, and I don't mean to stick on it, but when somebody says local Winnipeg beer, they've been doing it for so long. Fort Garry.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I guess we'll get right into the mustache talk, or the soup strainer talk, as I found out. That gave me a good laugh. But if you haven't done so already and you're able, please check out our Movember page, which we're fundraising money in support of men's mental health awareness.
It's tough to do this year because of the face masks. That's what I find. So not enough people realize that you're doing it. So this is the whole platform. Mack and I have done it. We have a side bet going on as to who's going to grow the better one. But more importantly, if we hit $500, which we're almost halfway.
Yeah.
We're going to hit the rink and we're going to let Mack wire some slap shots at your boy AJ. So donate, and it is your last week. I think we're going to be able to remind you on the next podcast, but I think this is the time. If you've got maybe $5 even, you can donate to that Movember page.
Yeah, absolutely. And the side bet that we were talking about is we're going to post at the end who has the better mustache and let our followers vote on that, and whoever loses, I guess, will have to make a donation as well. Yeah. On our behalf. And you know what? It would be funny if that was AJ to put us to the $500 mark.
We'll see. That would be fair. I didn't actually think about it that way. I like the little thing you've got set up on the screen here. I think it's below me, wherever it is, the Movember scanner code. So that's kind of cool too.
Yeah, absolutely. The code is underneath AJ on the video. And then as well on Icebreaker Show on social media, on Twitter for sure. And then you can find it on Instagram and Facebook as well. So if you're able, please help us out and see if we can get to that goal. Another cool thing going on I saw on social media is the WHL mascots uniting for WHL Tees for Toys. And what that is every team turned their mascot into a cartoon and put them on T-shirts, and they're selling the T-shirts, and then $7 from each T-shirt for the Winnipeg Ice will go to the Salvation Army this year. And what was cool was the Salvation Army sent a video, and they put out just saying how much it means to them. And he was saying that just because this year in general you can't really get out and fundraise and do that type of thing door to door like they would normally do. So this year, more so than ever, important to support Salvation Army and other local initiatives that are going to be able to buy toys for kids who might otherwise not get them.
Who's on the T-shirt?
Lil Freeze.
Lil Freeze. Oh, man.
Yeah.
He'll be happy about that. That much I know.
Yeah, no, he sure will. He sure is. Actually, I can confirm that he is. But it's
I'm surprised he doesn't have a campaign. I'm surprised he's not riding around town with a shirt on a stick, waving it like a flag, letting everybody know that they can buy this shirt.
Yeah, and they're like neat little shirts. I mean, anything turned into a cartoon that you don't normally see, right? Like I thought it was cool. I did order my T-shirt, so
right on.
Yeah, I did do that. So that's through the league. Moving to sports here quickly. We do talk about the Cincinnati Bengals an awful lot, but just thinking of Joe Burrow today.
The injury, if you missed it, he's going to be out the rest of the season with a left leg injury. It was so gruesome they wouldn't show it on the replay.
Yeah,
they came back and they said, we can't show you that. He got rolled over hard, and he even tweeted out before the Bengals released a statement, and he said, I'll see you next year.
Yeah, they did show the replay. I don't know if you watch on NFL Red Zone, but they did show it, and like he had his socks up, but it looked like a bone came through.
It was, and the only replay that I did see, and they didn't show too much of a close-up of it, but it was just on the CTV recap after the late games. And yeah, he got rolled up on hard right from the front, so it came dead on at him. He'll be back, and Listen, I know it's a Cincinnati Bengals fan kind of thing to do, to always be psyched about high draft picks. But next year, with Joe Burrow coming back out onto the field, and now with the season tanking, they're looking at a 1 or a 2 or a 3 draft pick too. So they're gonna Edmonton Oiler this, and they're just gonna load up on high draft picks.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
That's the new plan, I think. That's got to be our strategy.
What happens if they get number 1 and Trevor Lawrence is in the draft?
Whoever gets pick number 2 draws a real lucky card, I think.
Or they use that pick, or they use the first overall pick to trade back, but also get a player in return.
You know how they do running back by committee? They'll just go quarterback by committee. Yeah. Burrow, Lawrence, they'll trade series.
Yeah, no, for sure. But yeah, obviously you don't like to see someone get hurt, but especially him, like a young, promising quarterback. And also Herbert on the Chargers. That kid can play.
Yeah, well, I thought it was the two of them going for Rookie of the Year.
Yeah.
Maybe Chase Claypool in Pittsburgh.
Well,
but
Claypool.
There's too many props.
He's insane. Canadian as well, which is pretty neat. I'm just going to
underrated. He's left off of a lot of lists when they're talking about Rookie of the Year. I think he's top 3, top 5 at very least.
He's got 10 touchdowns in 10 games.
Yeah.
And just before we move on here from the NFL, I just want to say that I'm going to go with a hot take we're going to know tomorrow, and that is that the Tom Brady and the Bucks are going to beat the Rams tomorrow night on primetime. And I'm pretty confident in saying that. I think the Bucks have something going here. But, last time I picked the Bucks, they did get steamrolled. So we will see how it goes. But that's the Manitoba Building Trades hot take. It's not just any project. It's the opportunity of a lifetime. It's about building something great for Manitoba. That's why you turn to the talent and craftsmanship of Manitoba's expert tradespeople. Manitoba Building Trades is Manitoba's unionized construction industry. Productive labor is our business. With over 10,000 skilled trade professionals, we build what others can only imagine. Visit mbtrades.ca and come build with us. Wow, I did that pretty good today.
That was a solid read, and you know what? Just a solid message too. That's the people who build our world right there as tradespeople.
Absolutely. So we were talking last week, right, about what we wanted to do if we were going to save it. We decided to go with the holiday movies today, right, for our pick'ems.
Well, everybody's dressing up for Christmas already. All the trees are up already, so we may as well get in the Christmas holiday specials.
We need that, right? We need that. Yeah. We're back in a lockdown. Christmas can start whenever you want it to start. I know for me, we put up our tree, and it just makes the room. It's just cheery. So I'm going to stay with that, and we're going to keep on that with the holiday movies. And you obviously get to pick first because that's just the way it goes.
This is the best segue ever because you were just talking about how cheery Christmas is. My favorite holiday movie is Die Hard. I had it written down here as my number 1 pick.
You're going to do it. You're going with Die Hard.
It's off. Too many people argue that it's not a Christmas movie because it's violent, but I don't know, man. The whole thing's about a Christmas movie. There's technically a happy ending.
Why not?
For most people, not unless you're a Hans Gruber fan. It didn't end well for him. But Die Hard's my number 1 pick for holiday movies.
I'm going to give you that. My number 1 pick, easy. Everyone out there can guess it. Home Alone 1 and 2.
Well, you're going to take Home Alone 1 and 2,
Well, it's the same movie.
Yeah, it's weird how Home Alone 1 and 2, you can bundle them, but you wouldn't be able to get away with the next 3 or 4 or however many they made.
No, just 1 and 2.
Can you pick a favorite?
Can I?
Yeah.
It's tough, but I will say I like the second one a little bit better.
It's because of when they're throwing the bricks down.
Yeah,
that's why, right?
Bricks.
Keep hitting Marv in the face with the bricks.
Yeah.
People are going to think I don't like the holidays based on my first and second picks, but one of the movies that puts me in the holiday mood the most is Bad Santa with Millie Bob Thornton.
Yeah.
Because again, it's a salty take on Christmas, but it ends with such a happy message, and you're all happy. And he's got the stuffed animal for the kid. Spoiler alert.
Yeah, no, that's a good one. My second, I have to go with Elf. Just makes me laugh. Just makes me laugh. I think it's impossible to watch that and not be in a good mood.
Do you have a favorite line from Elf?
I don't know. There's just so many.
Mine's random. It's when he's San Francisco. That's fun to say.
I like when he's walking through the North Pole, I guess, and then the whale comes up. He's like, Bye, buddy. Say hi to or I hope you find your dad.
That's a good pick, man. We got 3 picks. This is my last one. It reminds me of being a kid because they used to run it on the TBS channel 24 hours for a couple of days. A Christmas Story.
Oh, yeah.
You know, shoot your eye out with a BB gun, the stick your tongue to the pole, the pink bunny outfit. It's all classic. There's a guy who lives in my neighborhood who has the leg.
Oh, yeah.
You know, the leg lamp?
Yep.
Yeah, it's in the front window year-round, not just at
Love
Christmas
that.
time either.
Love that. That was actually on my list, but I'm going to pull my audible here, and I'm going to go with Jingle All the Way. That was a classic.
You and I have the same 3 and 4 picks because Jingle All the Way with Arnold Schwarzenegger
Yes.
made my list.
How good is that one? So
Taking on who? Sinbad.
Yes, Sinbad. Yeah.
And Sinbad actually, I believe if I read, he just had some health troubles. So a shout out to Sinbad on the Icebreakers show. But that's a good pick, Mac.
Yeah, and then just quickly here, moving on into our guest today, former Winnipeg Jet 1.0 captain and Stanley Cup champion with the Anaheim Ducks, Randy Carlyle.
I want to give a shout out. That's a huge get for the show. I'm looking forward to hearing this conversation that you had with Randy Carlyle. I grew up, you know, I was about 7, 8 years old when the 90s hit. And we had Carlyle and Housley and Teppo Numminen was really starting to get good too. And that's just a really fun time that I remember watching Jets hockey back in the day.
As we'll hear in just a sec, I just got to point. It is very funny. He's a very funny man and a great guy to talk to. But I asked him about not wearing a helmet for so long. And his line was, my wife always told me, no brain, no pain.
This is looking for. I'm really looking forward to this chat you got to have, Mac.
Yeah, absolutely. So without further ado, joined by former Winnipeg Jet 1.0 head coach of the Manitoba Moose and Stanley Cup champion with the Anaheim Ducks, Randy Carlyle. Thanks for joining the show.
Hey, no problem, guys. How you doing up there? Is the snow on the ground yet?
Yeah, actually, last night it dumped on us.
Oh, well, I'm down in San Diego area, so there isn't much snow here.
And I don't feel bad for you one bit.
Yeah, well, that's the way it goes.
Well, speaking of snow, what do you remember most about your time playing and coaching in Winnipeg?
Well, there's lots of good memories. You know, I spent over 18 years in Winnipeg, so there was lots of good friendships, lots of relationships. I did a lot of outdoor activities, starting with my kids. You know, they were a young age, they were school age, and there was a lot of outdoor hockey on the community club outdoor rinks. There was lots of wintertime activities. I did a lot of ice fishing. I did a lot of hunting in my spare time. When the fall walleye run would be on in the Red and Pine Falls, after practice, we'd run up there. And we did a lot of outdoor activities that seemed to match my personality, and I really enjoyed my time.
Speaking of fishing, the rumor has it that you're not very good at it.
Well, the person who's probably spreading those rumors are friends of mine, and I probably taught them. When I went to Winnipeg, they were using 2 pie plates back to back with a door handle on it for a fishing reel. I had to show them what actually spinning reels were like, and there was a lot of banter, as I would say, in the boat.
Yeah, I don't doubt that. Well, listen, I heard a funny story, and it was about that young kid who came in and stole the first equipment manager's job with the Jets. What do you recall about that?
Well, again, there was this young kid that had lots to say. He came from Brandon, I think it was. And he was vertically challenged and still is. And he came in, and the one thing that he was not shy in the verbal confrontations.
From that same gentleman, he said that maybe sometimes your equipment wasn't always put away.
Well, that's what he was there for. He was supposed to earn his keep, you know. And again, very rarely did that happen. And it might have happened once or twice. And that was just a test to see, you know, how far you could push him. He'd leave something because he was very, very particular. And as most equipment guys know, they hate to see a player's equipment hit the floor, or should all be hung up in a certain way. The skates hung this way, the gloves put there. And there was a expectation. And there was lots of expectations that certain gentlemen didn't meet until he came to Winnipeg, and then we've had to fill him in on certain things that had to be done the professional way, the NHL way, not the junior hockey way.
Oh, I'm sure you guys kept him in check. What was the biggest difference, or I guess challenge for you when you finished playing and then found yourself behind the bench coaching?
Well, I went into a couple different areas first before getting into coaching. I was basically a director of player development. That was one of the first positions. And I actually worked on the radio, and I was an analyst with Kurt Keelback and Don Whitman. And, you know, I was the rookie, and they really taught me a lot about the transitioning and the life away from the playing surface. And it was a great transition because I was a Jets fan, truth, blue and blue, but I didn't take the wins and losses home with you like you do as a player. So it gave me a little bit of a break and space from being on the bench or on the ice surface and then transitioning into the stands. And then I got into the director of player development. I worked with the draft choices, and I started helping out in formulating the draft list. So that, again, gave me another opportunity to widen the horizon on what actually happens behind the scenes in the game. And it does, you know, open your eyes, because I can remember and thinking that, oh, this has got to be easy. Oh, why can't they find this type of player? Why can't they find that type of player? And then when you get in the trenches and just see how much work and how much time that the scouts do spend in the arenas, and how many games they do see, you know, it's just amazing. And the projection, everything is a projection. You've got to project that a 17-year-old, soon to be 18-year-old, what he's going to be as a 20-year-old. And you got to take a lot of things into consideration. And it's not just his on-ice ability, it's his off-ice. How much more difficult that is. You know, is he going to be peaking? Does he have the potential to grow? Does he have the potential to grow as a player? What kind of player is he? He's going to be an impact player. Is his skating good enough? Is he going to plateau? So those are all the things that you have to really register, and it takes time. It's not something that you can go out there and say, well, I've got this, there's a good player. Everybody can pick out probably the top 2 or 3 players on the ice. But it's those guys that are late bloomers, or the guys that come along, and it's a real tribute to those scouts that put the time in and the effort in and beating the paths to provide the product for the National Hockey League. And it's not an easy job. And again, I take my hat off to those guys, because they're a great group of people. And once you get into spending time with them, they're just like regular guys. They like to have the fun, and there's lots of bantering going back and forth. And it was very, very enlightening experience. I enjoyed the time, but I didn't enjoy the time on the road by myself.
Right.
And I can remember driving from, I think it was Springfield, Massachusetts to Manchester, New Hampshire in a snowstorm on the Mass Pike. I said, this isn't for me. It was a Sunday afternoon. I said, I'm not doing this anymore. And I said that I came home to my wife and said, I'm going to do something else. I can't do this. I got to get into the other side of the game. And that's when I decided to put my efforts into getting into coaching.
And I had James Patrick on the show the other week, and another former player that's now a coach. And he said when he turned coaching, when he was a player, he was like, well, they're just coaches. And then he became a coach, and he didn't realize all the time that had to go into coaching.
Well, again, the players, there's no better life as far as being involved in the game than being a player. It's the most exciting time. And you spend the least amount of time of anybody at the rink. Everybody else is there to support you. And it goes right from the training staff, the medical staff, to the coaching staff, strength and conditioning, video. All those people put a tremendous amount of time and make sure everything is ready for when you get to the rink. When you enter into that dressing room, your focus is supposed to be, and at 99% of the time, is preparing yourself for the task at hand. And that's on the on-ice product, working and competing and getting out there and making yourself better. And there's a professionalism that's expected of young players, that you got to learn how to be a pro and do the things the professional way. And we're there to try and guide them and help them find that. And a lot of guys struggle with that. And I don't think that I was very good at it early in my career. You just had to walk the walk, and then you had to learn what the longevity and some of the players that you were playing around you, what they did. And you learned from that, and you tried to pass that message along to other players to develop a program. Feel good about your program, go to the rink and enjoy it. But again, you've got to commit to it. It's not something that just comes and goes.
Yeah, no question. When looking at old photos of your playing days, and it's widely known that you didn't play with a helmet. What was that
Yeah, my
like?
wife always said, "No brain, no pain." So it was just one thing, we started, and I go back a long ways, and helmets weren't mandatory in the league at that time.
I know.
I started in '76, my first year in Toronto. I was drafted by the Toronto Maple Leafs, and nobody wore helmets. The whole team was helmetless. And then gradually it became an option, and then more and more players started to wear them. But they grandfathered that if you were in the league before, you could make that decision. But every young player coming into the league had to wear a helmet. And I think that started in '78 or '79. So I was fortunate enough that I didn't have to. It just wasn't part of my equipment. But I did wear a helmet in the World Championships 1 year in Sweden. I wore a Jofa Gretzky, and I was one ugly hockey player.
Maybe I'll have to look that up. And
Yeah.
you snuck a Norris Trophy into your trophy case as well.
Yeah, I was fortunate enough to, get into a situation. I got traded from Toronto, and they traded me to Pittsburgh. And I went to Pittsburgh, and they were a team that was looking for some injection of youth. And I got an opportunity to go from being a sixth defenseman in Toronto's system, because I played behind Boreas Alming and Ian Turnbull. And then they had Trevor Johansson was a young guy that came in at the same time as I did. And Roger Nielsen felt he was a better suited player for their mix. And they traded me to Pittsburgh for Dave Burrows, George Ferguson, and I. So we went to Pittsburgh, and then I got elevated. I was in the top role. I was either one or two in their makeup of their group. So it gave me an opportunity to play. And I made mistakes. I made lots of mistakes. But I developed there into a pro hockey player. And that's where you got to learn. You got to do some things differently. You had to change the way you were approaching things. And you went to practice to get better, not just to fill time and space.
Right. I need to ask you a question that you can either confirm or deny, because I don't know the answer to it, but I seem to vaguely remember that there was always 4 little kids running around the Winnipeg Arena. And then the old Winnipeg Arena setup, the coach's office was across the hallway, just inside the gym area, where there was chin-up bars. Was there kids hanging by their underwear from the chin-up bars when they were annoying the coaches?
Well, that might have happened once, maybe twice, that the little rodents that come in to bother the coaching staff got dealt with. And it was in a fun way. And it's funny that those little kids remember that. They remember that to this day. And it was enjoyable. And that's one thing about the Winnipeg Arena and our memories there. Our kids were allowed access into those areas. And those were big deals for kids of that age group and at that time. And there was lots of kids that came to practice, and there was lots of kids and one of the things that we didn't want the trainers to do, and we didn't expect the trainers to be babysitters, but they sure got their hands full, because we'd feed them full of sugar, and then they'd send them back home to us. Once their kids were there and came back home, they were all wound up, and they had lots of sugar because there was gum. If you remember,
Oh yeah,
gum, they bought gum from Costco at that time by the 5-gallon bucket, and the kids would just love that gum. There was gum everywhere. So there was always kids going home with pockets full of gum.
no, absolutely. And that's funny. I kind of vaguely remember that was all in good fun. And I also remember in the equipment area, there was like this, I guess, storage room, and in there was a fridge full of the Hershey's cookies and cream, and they were Santas, and we used to just eat the heck out of those.
Yeah, you weren't supposed to be in there. You and the mice and the rats in the building, they were all in those little cubby holes, and those are special times. And that's really what hockey was to a lot of us. And it was a great game that we were able to play, and we had a lot of fun at it. And we had our families and our kids were also part of it. I can remember our boys coming in and not even watching the games. They'd have mini sticks and playing their games out in the hallway. And that goes to Alexander Steen, who's played over 1,000 games.
Yeah,
He was one of my son Craig, my son Derek. There was Andy Murray's son, Brady Murray. Those kids played, and then there was these little Heisingers that we couldn't get rid of, and we just tried to sweep them away, but they were a part of it also.
And then obviously winning the Stanley Cup in 2006 and 7 as the head coach, what was that moment like?
Well, it was a surreal moment. You really don't realize how big a moment is until it's after.
Yeah.
After the fact. And the decompression that takes place and the time, because you own that thing basically almost for another 8 months, and then it's handed to some other team. And that's the big part of it is that there's a huge mountain to climb. It's very difficult. You got to win 16 hockey games, and you got to have a good group of people that are committed to the common goal. And that's what we had. We had a team that could play any way you wanted to play it. We had great leadership in Scott Niedermayer, Chris Pronger, Teemu Selanne. These were players that were elite level players. And for Scotty, this was, kind of going to be his fourth cup. For Prongs and Teemu, that would have been their first cup.
Mm-hmm.
And then everybody seemed to rally around that. And Jaguar went in the nets after the first round. He had an issue with his son being born. And so he stayed back, and Brizgalov, I think, played the first round. And then when Jiggy came back, he got the net, and he gave us outstanding goaltending. And we had some big-time plays made by some big-time players to give us the opportunity to hoist the cup.
And they say when you hoist the cup, it feels way lighter than it actually is. Is that true?
Yeah, it is true. There's a lot of adrenaline and a lot of emotion that goes with it, because everybody that you are close to usually are around you, especially when you do. And, we were up 6-2, and they were starting to fill in the hallway behind our bench. And that's, players and our players' wives, players' mothers and fathers, my wife, my children, everybody was crammed into that one area for the last 2 minutes of the hockey game. And you could see them there, and you just didn't want, and there's guys crying on the bench.
Right.
The emotions that were, and that was one of the things that I regret, is not getting Teemu Selanne on the ice for the buzzer. But what happened was he was broken down on the side of the bench. He couldn't contain himself. And I looked down and I said, "I wanted you out there." And he just shook his head, and then he put his head down his legs, and he was emotionally, spent. So again, those are the things that you remember. And the one thing that I'll always remember is in the game, the clinching game, we only gave up 13 shots in the hockey game. So we played a pretty sound defensive hockey game. We'd had a good run, and we found a way to get it done at home. And that was great for our fans and our organization. Yeah,
I still remember watching that. One last question for you, and I don't know, you don't have to answer if you don't want, but I heard way back when Bobby Ryan was a rookie that a couple of the older fellas on the team changed his girlfriend's phone number to your phone number one night, and he was calling you at 4 a.m.
I don't remember that. I think that's not true. As I remember very vividly, that never really happened, from my knowledge. Because I never the phone at 4:30 in the morning. I was never going to be interrupted, because there was a lot of prank calling going along at that time, and I can remember guys calling and trying to pose as real estate agents. And they had a price for your house. They had a bunch of different things going on, and that was, again, things that if you got involved with it, you could get burnt. And I didn't feel like I was in a position to get burnt after 30-some years in the game.
No, that makes sense. Well, thanks for joining the show. I really appreciate it, and always a pleasure chatting with you.
Hey, take care, and the check's in the mail, right? Well, that'll just about do it for episode 27 of Icebreaker. And like I said, if you're able, please donate to our Movember fundraiser in support of men's mental health. You can do that with the QR code in the video or on our social media channels at Icebreaker Show on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Once again, thank you all for listening. Wherever you listen to the podcast, available everywhere. And if you like it, please pass on to your friends. We would appreciate that. And hope everybody has a great week, and we will talk to you next week.